Congratulations on your win today. Tell us about it. Tough fishing for a lot of guys, not so much for you.
Yeah, it was really tough, but I expected it to be tough today. Been fishing a lot up at Ohio. It's that fall transition. It's still hot, but it's kind of winding down. You're starting to get some of the cool nights, and we had a real cool night last night. And that usually, the first couple of cool nights when it starts dipping down in the 40s, them fish don't like it at all. So I was expecting it for it to be a grinder, and I really didn't have a clue what to go off of. And then we got this gigantic zone, 22 miles. I really felt lost, and I even told my camera guy early on and my boat official that I just felt like I was kind of beating this one because everybody that I fished against had fished here before. I didn't even know what Eufaula was all about. I didn't know the lay of it. Obviously, we have the hotel here. I was able to look across the lake here and get kind of an idea, but I didn't know anything about it. So I felt at a major disadvantage early on, but it ended up working out, so it was cool.
Follow-up question. Everybody this morning, the fog rolling off the water with the cooler temperatures and everything, everybody but you and Boyd went out Main Lake. You two guys went back into the creek. And it seemed like it started working for you right off the bat. Why did you decide to go deeper into the creek when everybody else went out?
It's funny just because I was already right there. And well, actually what happened when I went on the ride through, I noticed that the creek we was in had hydrilla in it. I saw that right away. And we had a 45-minute ride through, so that really helped, feeling like I had time to look at some stuff. So I ran about 7 miles up lake to another creek, and I ran around up there almost till it was time for lines in, first cast. I didn't see any hydrilla up there. And whether I caught them out of hydrilla or I didn't, I feel like when I'm around hydrilla, the area is full of life, and it's a healthy area for fish to live in. So I was like, I'm going to run down there in that creek, and then I actually wanted to start on the bridge right there where me and Duckett met at. And then once he was on one corner of the bridge, I'm like, well, I probably picked a good spot because Duckett's probably going to do really good because he's from here. So yeah, I'm just going to go fish these boat docks. And I pretty much just put the trolling motor down. And I got to the back of that creek and saw a bunch of hydrilla back there. And I fished the docks and caught a few, lost a few fish that probably would have helped me even more. But I was like, at some point I have to go out there and keep that hydrilla honest. And I did that within like the first 5 minutes of flipping it. I caught 1.5 pounds. But then I fished the whole rest of the period and never caught any. I went back there right at the end and caught another good one. So going into the third period, I felt like that area had potential. There's obviously fish in that one little stretch, which is typical grass fishing. It was just grass fishing 101 really, but it was hard to really find that zone. And I feel like moving on to the next round, I'm a little bit concerned with I'm not going to be able to run that pattern because it seemed like them fish were really congregated on that one little stretch.
Fletcher, a second ago you mentioned the size of the area that was established today. So it was about 26,000 surface acres. Do you prefer larger or smaller zones, and why?
The lake was a little bit too big for me today. Not knowing anything about, really the lake, it just felt like it was too much to break down all at once. That's basically why I started right there at the takeoff too, because it felt like here was no better than there, and if I didn't pick one area that I really liked, and it would be easy to run around and eat up a bunch of time and really feel lost. So really picking that section of the lake ended up helping, it ended up working out that way because the zone was so big.
Lake Eufala is a fantastic fishery, as you know. So what do you think it is that shuts down the fishing at times like this?
This, like you said, this lake is awesome, I think. I see the potential out there, but I think it's just this time of year in general, anywhere we go. You got the water's been in the 80s, possibly in the 90s all summer. The fish have seen a ton of baits this time of year. And then, like I said, you start to get these cold snaps that I think they're scattered out a lot. They've had a lot of pressure. Everywhere in the country, aside from maybe, northern smallmouth fishing, most of the country's suffering right now at this time of year. It's just expected. So it's about everywhere we go, I think.
Did you have one bait or one specific lure pattern that really paid off for you today?
Yeah, I caught the majority of my fish on a Yamamoto creature bait, little crawl bait, and that was really what I caught the majority of my weight on. I caught 1 or 2 on a Senko, and I think 1 fish on a buzzbait early on, but the majority of them come on the Yamamoto Psycho. That's just a small little black and blue crawl. And I downsized my bait, not necessarily. I did notice the bait seemed really small, which surprised me as, being down in the south, I figured the bait would be a lot bigger that I could visibly see. But I just basically went to a smaller bait because I'm just trying to get a bite. Like, it was so tough to get a bite. I didn't want to pass up a 12-inch spot, you know, at any point. So I downsized my bait. So I don't know if that had anything to do with it or just the fact that I was around some big ones. And
Were you keen on any particular part of the grass? Were you keen on the outside edge? Were you punching in the middle? Were you fishing away from it?
I started out, I felt like I looked at the bank and it looked like the water had dropped about 2 or 3 feet, which obviously pulls everything out. And typically when I'm punching hydrilla, they like to relate to that outer edge most of the time anyway. So I started there, but what I noticed as the evening went on, in the third period, I started getting some bites up shallow too. Like there was just a bunch of fish in that area of grass, which is typical when you're grass fishing. That's what kind of is the negative with it, because I flipped almost that whole entire creek, I felt like, of the good hydrilla in that creek, and it just happened to be that one little stretch that was loaded. So that's the downside of fishing that way. If I wouldn't have found that, if I wouldn't have got that one bite early on, if I'd have missed that one bite, I'd have never returned to that area. So you can miss that deal real easy too.
With about an hour and a half left, you had an 11-pound leader with Kevin Van Dam. How confident were you then?
Still not that confident. It's KVD. I mean, he could come back at any moment and just be like 32 pounds. I was expecting it actually, but it felt cool, you know. I mean, 5 years ago, this was all a dream for me, you know, watching Kevin Van Dam on TV. And it's funny, whenever I found that out that I was fishing against Kevin, I was pumped, because if I do happen to win or do well, I want him to be in it. That way it feels like I would, you know, actually really accomplish something. Not that anything against any of the other anglers, but I would like to beat the king, you know, at the game. So it was definitely, it's definitely pretty special to pull that off.
This is the second time you have qualified from the Challenge Select into the Challenge Cup. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it's pretty cool too to actually qualify through the selects. You know, all these guys deserve to be here. They're great anglers, but to actually feel like I qualified to be here and actually had to win another event to get to this point makes it even more special. So it's pretty cool.
Have you experienced a little southern hospitality from the folks here in Eufaula, Alabama?
Yeah, I like it here. It's really nice. We like the barbecue uptown too in Eufaula. It's pretty good.
Good.
Fletcher, your next round is going to be sudden death later this week. How will your preparation be affected by what you saw in the water today and today's results?
I feel like I've got a little bit better grasp, you know, obviously being out there today. I'm going to change it up. I would love to do the same thing that I did today and, you know, really smash some good ones. But I don't know if that opportunity is going to present itself. I didn't run around the lake enough today to see exactly what it had to offer. So I'm just going to have to just wing it again. If the opportunity presents itself to do the same thing, great. If not, I'll pick up, well, you know, a shaky head worm if I have to and do what we got to do. So I'm excited.
Fletcher, one last question. You know, you mentioned you want to beat the king, Kevin Van Dam, obviously in your flight today. There are many other great anglers that were out there. There was Denny Brower and others. You know, and like in golf recently, we've heard what's golf going to do without Tiger Woods? You know, the passing of the guard, changing of the guard kind of thing happening in golf, and it's in very good hands with a lot of younger guys. You guys, you younger guys, really seem to be coming on very fast in the sport of bass fishing, and you don't seem afraid of anybody.
No, I mean, I think as far as the fear, I mean, I respect everyone we fish against to the fullest. I mean, these guys are amazing anglers, amazing athletes. A lot of people don't understand how great, you know, a lot of these guys are and how smart a lot of these guys are even off the water. You know, they're not just great fishermen, they're great businessmen and people too. I don't know if you could say the kids are really coming on too. So, I mean, it's going to take a lot to catch up to Kevin Van Dam's records, but it is cool to every now and then. Like I told myself going into the third period, I think Kevin was leading going into the third period, and I told myself, he may beat me 3 out of 4 times, but this is that 4th day, and it's not going to happen today. So the majority of the time, you know, the man like Kevin Van Dam or Denny Brower is going to win, but it's cool to sneak in there and get him every now and then.